The sun hung low over Maple Drive, casting golden light across perfectly trimmed lawns and quiet homes. Maya Chen knelt in her front garden, dark soil coating her gloves as she planted rows of bright marigolds along the walkway. Sweat beaded on her forehead. She wiped it away with the back of her hand, leaving a smudge of dirt across her cheek. The flowers were thriving this season. Each bloom represented hours of care, patience, and love for the small piece of earth she called home. "Hey! What do you think you're doing?" The voice cut through the peaceful afternoon like a blade. Maya looked up, shielding her eyes from the sun. Vincent Kane stood at the edge of her property, his face twisted with anger. His polo shirt was pressed, his khaki pants spotless. Everything about him screamed control, order, the kind of man who believed the world should bend to his will. "I'm planting flowers, Vincent," Maya said calmly, pulling off her gloves. "On my property." "Your property." Vincent stepped closer, his shoes crunching on the gravel path. "That flower bed is 6 inches over the property line. 6 inches onto my side." Maya stood slowly, brushing dirt from her jeans. She lived here for 3 years. 3 years of Vincent's complaints, his pointed stares, his comments about property values and neighborhood standards. The words he never said outright hung in the air between them, heavy and undeniable. "Vincent, we had the property surveyed last month. Remember?" The surveyor marked everything clearly. "These flowers are well within my boundary." His jaw tightened. "I don't care what some surveyor said. I know where my property ends. You people always think you can just take whatever you want, don't you? Moving into neighborhoods where you don't belong, bringing down everything we've built." The mask slipped. There it was. "You people." Maya's hands curled into fists at her sides, but she kept her voice steady. "I have every right to be here, Vincent. I own this home. I pay my taxes. And I'm not going anywhere." Vincent's face flushed red. He closed the distance between them in 3 quick steps. "You need to learn your place." His hand came up fast. The slap echoed across the quiet street, sharp and brutal. Maya's head snapped to the side, her cheek burning with sudden fire. For a moment, the world stopped. Birds went silent. The breeze died. Everything narrowed to the throbbing pain in her face and the rage flooding her veins, but Maya didn't move. She turned back slowly, meeting Vincent's eyes with a stare that could cut steel. "You just made a terrible mistake. What are you going to do about it?" Vincent sneered, stepping back with his arms crossed. "Call the cops. Tell them the mean neighbor hurt your feelings. Nobody's going to care what happens to." "I'd finish that sentence very carefully if I were you." The new voice came from behind Vincent. Deep, authoritative, carrying the weight of someone used to being obeyed. A black sedan had pulled up to the curb during the confrontation, so quiet neither of them had noticed. A man stepped out, tall and broad-shouldered, wearing a dark suit despite the heat. His badge gleamed in the fading sunlight as he held it up. "Agent Cole Rivera, Federal Bureau of Investigation. Civil Rights Division." Vincent's face went pale. His mouth opened, closed, opened again. This is a private matter. Between neighbors." Agent Rivera walked across Maya's lawn with measured steps, his eyes never leaving Vincent. "Assault is never a private matter, Mr. Kane. Especially when I just witnessed it with my own eyes." He stopped a few feet away, positioning himself between Maya and Vincent. "Are you all right, ma'am?" Maya touched her cheek gently. It still burned, but something else burned brighter now. "Hope. I'm fine, Agent. Thank you." "Good." Rivera turned his full attention to Vincent. "Mr. Vincent Kane. 43 years old. Regional Manager at Westfield Industries. Does that sound right?" Vincent's confidence was crumbling like sand. "How do you? What is this about?" "Oh, I think you know exactly what this is about." Rivera pulled a small notebook from his jacket pocket, flipping it open. For the past 4 months, my office has been investigating complaints filed by 7 employees at your company. 7 black employees who allege systematic discrimination, harassment, and retaliation. Denied promotions despite superior performance. Hostile work environment. Racial slurs in team meetings. The color drained completely from Vincent's face. Those complaints are lies. Disgruntled workers trying to what, Mr. Kane? Rivera's voice dropped lower, harder. Trying to do their jobs without being called racial epithets. Trying to advance in their careers based on merit. We have emails, Mr. Kane. Recorded meetings. Text messages you thought you deleted. He stepped closer. And now, I have something even better. I have you, on a residential street, assaulting a black woman on her own property after making racially charged statements. Vincent stumbled backward, his hand reaching for his car keys. I want my lawyer. I'm not saying anything else without. That's your right. Rivera gestured toward the street. But you're not going anywhere just yet. Doors began opening along Maple Drive. Mrs. Park, the elderly Korean woman from 3 houses down, walked out onto her porch with her phone raised. Ben Walsh, the young white father from across the street, stood on his lawn with his arms crossed. Karen Mills, a black teacher from next door, came out with her teenage son. Agent Rivera. Mrs. Park called out, her voice surprisingly strong for someone in her 70s. I have recordings. From my security camera. It captures the whole front of Maya's property. Everything that just happened is on video. Rivera nodded. Thank you, Mrs. Park. We'll need that. Ben Walsh stepped into the street. I've got videos too. From the past 6 months. Every time Vincent harassed Maya. Every racist comment. Every threat. I sent everything to the FBI field office 3 weeks ago. Vincent spun around, looking at his neighbors like he was seeing them for the first time. You were all working against me. No, Maya said quietly, her voice cutting through the tension. We were working for justice. There's a difference. Karen Mills walked over to stand beside Maya, her son following close behind. You thought because we stayed quiet, we didn't notice. You thought because you smiled at block parties and kept your lawn perfect, nobody could see who you really are. But we saw, Vincent. We all saw. Rivera pulled out his handcuffs. Vincent Kane, you're under arrest for assault and battery. You also need to come in for questioning regarding federal civil rights violations. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. The handcuffs clicked into place. Vincent's legs seemed to give out, and Rivera had to steady him. This is insane. This is all a misunderstanding. I never meant. You never meant to get caught, Maya said, her voice stronger now. That's what you never meant. Rivera guided Vincent toward the sedan. Another agent, a woman with short gray hair, got out from the driver's side to help. They placed Vincent in the back seat, and the door closed with a solid thunk. Rivera walked back to Maya, pulling out a business card. Ma'am, I need you to come down to the field office tomorrow to give a formal statement. We'll need photographs of your injury. Medical documentation if you choose to see a doctor. This will be part of both a criminal assault case and the larger civil rights investigation. Maya took the card, her hands trembling slightly now that the adrenaline was fading. Will it matter? Will anything actually change? Rivera looked at her directly, his expression serious but not without warmth. I can't promise the system is perfect. I can't promise it will be fast. But I can promise that we take these cases seriously. Vincent Kane has been abusing his power for years, and today, that ends. Your courage to stand there and not back down. That matters. The neighbors who refused to look away. That matters. Justice is slow, Ms. Chen, but it's not dead. Mrs. Park approached, holding a USB drive. Everything from the past year is on here. I've been worried about Maya for so long. I didn't know who to tell. You told the right people, Rivera assured her. And you did it at the right time. As the sedan pulled away with Vincent in the back seat, the neighbors began to gather on Maya's lawn. Ben brought over a first aid kit. Karen offered to drive Maya to the hospital for a checkup. Mrs. Park promised to make her special soup and bring it over later. Why didn't you all say something before? Maya asked, looking at the faces around her. I thought I was alone in this. We were afraid, Ben admitted, looking down at his shoes. Afraid of confrontation. Afraid of making things worse. But we realized staying silent was making things worse. So we documented everything and contacted the FBI. We just didn't know they were already investigating him for workplace discrimination. Sometimes justice needs help finding its way, Mrs. Park said softly. We decided to light the path. 3 weeks later, Maya stood in her garden again. The marigolds had grown fuller, their orange and yellow petals bright against the dark soil. The bruise on her cheek had faded to nothing. Vincent's house stood empty, a for sale sign planted in the yard. The federal investigation had expanded. More victims had come forward. The assault charge was proceeding through criminal court. Vincent Kane's carefully constructed life was unraveling thread by thread. Maya heard footsteps on the path behind her. She turned to find Agent Rivera standing there, no longer in his suit but in casual jeans and a button-down shirt. Agent Rivera. I wasn't expecting you. I was in the neighborhood, he said with a small smile. Wanted to update you personally. Vincent took a plea deal. 5 years for the assault and civil rights violations. He'll also be required to complete extensive counseling and community service upon release. His company settled with the 7 employees for undisclosed amounts and implemented new oversight policies. Maya let out a breath she didn't know she'd been holding. 5 years. It's not enough, Rivera acknowledged. It never is. But it's something. And more importantly, it's on record. Vincent Kane will carry this conviction for the rest of his life. He'll never hold a position of power over vulnerable people again. And the others? Maya asked. The employees he harassed. They're rebuilding. Some stayed with the company under new management. Others moved on to better opportunities. But they all know now that speaking up mattered. That they weren't crazy or oversensitive. That what happened to them was real and wrong, and people listened. Maya looked back at her garden, at the flowers thriving in soil she tended with her own hands. I keep thinking about what would have happened if you hadn't been there. If you hadn't shown up at exactly that moment. The investigation was already in motion, Rivera said. But I won't lie. The timing was fortunate. Sometimes the universe aligns things just right. Sometimes justice gets the advantage. My mother used to say that truth is like a seed, Maya said quietly. You can bury it deep, cover it with lies, try to starve it of light. But eventually, if enough people water it with courage, it breaks through the surface. It grows despite everything working against it. Rivera nodded. Your mother was a wise woman. She was. Maya smiled, a real smile this time. She would have liked knowing her daughter stood her ground. That she didn't let fear win. She'd be proud, Rivera agreed. He handed Maya another card. If you ever need anything, or if something like this happens again, you call me directly. Day or night. As Rivera walked back to his car, the other neighbors began arriving. Mrs. Park with her promised soup. Karen with fresh bread. Ben with his kids, who wanted to help plant more flowers. The lawn filled with voices, laughter, the sound of community stitching itself back together. Maya knelt in the dirt once more, her hands in the soil, surrounded by people who had chosen courage over comfort. The sun set behind the houses, painting the sky in shades of orange and gold. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. The fight against hatred never truly ended. But tonight, on this small patch of earth on Maple Drive, justice had won a battle, and sometimes, one battle was enough to change everything.